наверное, гипотеза такова. Ты смотри сам, мне всю жизнь было девичье делать, может и так, ты испуганный глаза, может и так. Ну ладно, ладно. Поехали, поеду уже. А, знаешь, что извини, что за извини, а, вот это да так вот я думал тоже. Серьезно решили, да. Да ладно. Ну ладно. Ну хорошо, ладно, это. 500 чисто, сейчас схожу. Тут вдвоем не выпьется. Вот и надо как-то менять. Ну да, проситься надо проситься. Ну нет, вот и все, да. Долго ешь, долго пытаешься кушать, долго свой пипец, очень долго. Что это такое вообще? Ага, если это не ой, ладно, ладно, так, что такое вообще? Что там показывает? Что скажет, да? Что такое? Яндекс Алиса. Опаньки. Je n'ai plus. Это что такое? Что такое что-то такое? Не знаю.
Получите полное представление о проектах в реальном времени. Создавайте проекты в один клик. Просматривайте...
Hello everyone and welcome back to Adam's Top 10 Tips for Efficient and Natural Piano Playing based on the teachings of Peter Feuchtwanger. This is tip number 3. Before I get on to arm weight and distance, I just need to clarify something else.
Если вы хотите стать программистом, я предлагаю вам стать разработчиком искусственного интеллекта. Вы сможете зарабатывать от 70 до 100 тысяч рублей в месяц сразу после обучения. В университете искусственного интеллекта вы можете обучиться полностью с нуля. Неважно, какая у вас была профессия. Мы обучим вас программировать, после этого мы обучим вас писать нейронные сети. После обучения вы получите полноценный диплом, и мы даем гарантию трудоустройства по договору. Вы можете уже сейчас получить самую перспективную профессию в мире. Если вы понимаете, что вам это действительно интересно, тогда оставляйте заявку.
J'ai une question à te poser. Qu'est-ce qui va être le mieux pour échapper à la crise qui va arriver, la crise monétaire? Est-ce que c'est de rester dans le même système monétaire ou d'investir dans d'autres monnaies qui ne sont pas...
Тинькофф Бизнес – это кэшбэк 1% на входящий оборот и на прием платежей по банковским картам.
Hello everyone, I'd like to talk to you about the wheel today. What is the wheel? And I'm going to give you a practice to work and develop this technique that we call the wheel. So the wheel in effect is using the wrist. We call it a wheel because with the wrist we make this wheel shape. So let's say we have an arpeggio. Instead of just playing with the fingers like this, we're using the wrist to transfer the weight from one finger to another without necessarily playing with the fingers like this, but actually moving the weight from one finger to another. So the work is becoming less here and more in the arm using the wrist. So I'd like to give you a little practice to practice this. What we're going to do is we're going to take these notes. I'm going to give you these notes. It's a little bit, the reason why we do this, we could just take, let's say, a C major arpeggio, but this just fits the hand really nicely. It kind of has this perfect shape. See, the longer fingers are on the black notes. So we take D in the right hand, then we have F sharp and G sharp, and then C on the other end. In the left hand, it's exactly the same. D, F sharp, G sharp, C. So if we put them together, we have D and C. Then we have our two black keys, F sharp and G sharp. There's no A sharp here. And then C up here and D down here. So this is nice because we can practice two hands at the same time since they're mirrored. So the right hand, when it's going up, the wrist is going to go down. When the right hand goes down, the wrist comes up, and we go around the fifth finger. In the left hand, it's the opposite. When we go down, the wrist is down, and when we go up, the wrist is coming over like this. So the wrist is making a wheel like this. And if you do this with two hands, it's mirrored, so you can practice the two at the same time. You can also put it here if you want, or just here. Now once you find these notes, start to explore. Going this way is a lot easier to understand than going this way, because the weight transfers pretty naturally when the wrist is up. It's kind of like if you were going to do this, but we're just going like this. So if I exaggerate to a complete maximum here, you can see that my wrist is up. So it's easy to make the weight transfer from one finger to another. Now we're doing this just on a minute scale, the least possible. Another thing you can try, it's easy to make the weight transfer from one finger to another. Now we're doing this just on a minute scale, the least possible from one finger to another. Now we're doing this just on a minute scale, the least possible. Another thing you can try, make a chord out of the notes, and then go, and you'll notice that you don't do this very well with the fingers. You naturally go with the wrist like this. So, what I'd like you to try is this. We're going to do a little practice to establish a connection from your arm to the keyboard that doesn't use fingers. So what we do is we repeat the notes like this, but we're really going in front with the arm. We're using this, it's coming from the tricep, pushing forward to play. This is just to establish connection going this way. Again, it's really not this way, it's really in the front. And you're not playing with the fingers either, they're just there. You're bringing them forward. And then the next key, very slowly. And I can't stress enough that you really come in the front and then come back and then go again in the front, slide back. So you're bringing the keys in the front from the triceps here. This is establishing a connection from your arm to the keyboard. Because once you put the weight in, it has to go forward. So after you've done this practice a few times, check and see, are you moving your fingers? Are you still playing like this? And if you are, then try again. Just try to minimize the finger movement as much as possible for this exercise. And then go back to doing this. And you'll feel that you transfer the weight pretty much by pushing forward. Of course, we're not like this, like I showed in the example earlier. So the weight has to go by pushing. If I just put my pinky finger here, and now I'm pushing forward as if I'm sending myself into the front of the piano, this naturally happens. The next finger just goes there. And then if I keep going forward, and a little bit this way, this is happening like this. So you can start to work on this one. This one's very easy. This one's a little harder. once you have these and this one, then you can start to just go around that pinky finger. And then you have your wheel. This is a great practice for the wheel. You can use it everywhere. I'm going to make another video and show you where you can use the wheel, examples of how to use the wheel. It's pretty much almost anything you play is going to be either this wheel or this kind of thing like this, rotation.
Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-minute papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér. With the ascendancy of neural network-based learning algorithms, we are now able to take on and defeat problems that sounded completely impossible just a few years ago. For instance, now we can create deepfakes, or in other words, we can record a short video of ourselves and transfer our gestures to a target subject, and this particular technique is so advanced that we don't even need a video of our target, just one still image. So we can even use paintings, images of sculptures. So yes, even the Mona Lisa works. However, don't despair, it's not all doom and gloom. A paper by the name Face Forensics contains a large dataset of original and manipulated video pairs. As this offered a ton of training data for real and forged videos, it became possible to use these to train a deepfake detector. You can see it here in action, as these green to red colors showcase regions that the AI correctly thinks were tampered with. However, if we have access to a deepfake detector, we can also use it to improve our deepfake creating algorithms. And with this, an arms race has begun. The paper we are looking at today showcases this phenomenon. If you look here, you see this footage, which is very visibly fake, and the algorithm correctly concludes that. Now, if you look at this video, which for us looks like if it were the same video, yet it suddenly became real, at least the AI thinks that, of course, incorrectly. This is very confusing. So, what really happened here? To understand what is going on here, we first have to talk about ostriches. So what do ostriches have to do with this insanity? Let me try to explain that. An adversarial attack on a neural network can be performed as follows. We present such a classifier network with an image of a bus, and it will successfully tell us that yes, this is indeed a bus. Nothing too crazy here. Now we show it not an image of a bus, but a bus plus some carefully crafted noise that is barely perceptible, that forces the neural network to misclassify it as an ostrich. I will stress that this is not any kind of noise, but the kind of noise that exploits biases in the neural network, which is by no means trivial to craft. However, if we succeed at that, this kind of adversarial attack can be pulled off on many different kinds of images. Everything that you see here on the right will be classified as an ostrich by the neural network these noise patterns were created for. And this can now be done not only on images, but videos as well. Hence, what happened a minute ago is that the deepfake video has been adversarially modified with noise to bypass such a detector. If you look here, you see that the authors have chosen excellent examples, because some of these are clearly forged videos, which is initially recognized by the detector algorithm, but after adding the adversarial noise to it, the detector fails spectacularly. To demonstrate the utility of their technique, they have chosen the other examples to be much more subtle. Now, let's talk about one more question. We were talking about a detector algorithm, but there is not one detector out there, there are many, and we can change the wiring of these neural networks to have even more variation. So, what does it mean to fool a detector? Excellent question. The success rate of these adversarial videos indeed depends on the deepfake detector we are up against, but hold on to your papers, because this success rate on uncompressed videos is over 98%, which is amazing, But note that when using video compression, this success rate may drop to 58 to 92% depending on the detector. This means that video compression and some other tricks involving image transformations still help us in defending against these adversarial attacks. What I also really like about the paper is that it discusses white and black box attacks separately. In the white box case, we know everything about the inner workings of the detector, including the neural network architecture and parameters. This is typically the easier case. But the technique also does really well this, including the neural network architecture and parameters. This is typically the easier case. But the technique also does really well in the black box case, where we are not allowed to look under the hood of the detector, but we can show it a few videos and see how it reacts to them. This is a really cool work that gives us a more nuanced view about the current state of the art around deepfakes and deepfake detectors. I think it is best if we all know about the fact that these tools exist. If you wish to help us with this endeavor, please make sure to share this with your friends. Thank you. This episode has been supported by Lambda. If you are a researcher or a startup looking for cheap GPU compute to run these algorithms, check out Lambda GPU Cloud. I've talked about Lambda's GPU workstations in other videos, and I'm happy to tell you
Сделай этот Новый год вкуснее. Открой яркие впечатления на сайте Ritter Sport. Играй онлайн и офлайн и получай призовые.
Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-Minute Papers with Károly Zsolnai Fehér. If you start watching reviews of some of the more recent smartphones, you will almost always see a dedicated section to low-light photography. The result is almost always that cameras that work remarkably well in well-lit scenes produce almost unusable results in dim environments. So, unless we have access to a super expensive camera, what can we really do to obtain more usable low-light images? Well, of course we could try brightening the image up by increasing the exposure. This would help maybe a tiny bit, but would also mess up our white balance and also amplify the noise within the image. I hope that by now you are getting the feeling that there must be a better AI-based solution. Let's have a look. This is an image of a dark indoor environment, I am sure you have noticed. This was taken with a relatively high light sensitivity. That can be achieved with a consumer camera. This footage is unusable, and this image was taken by an expensive camera with extremely high light sensitivity settings. This footage is kinda usable, but is quite dim and is highly contaminated by noise. And now, hold on to your papers, because this AI-based technique takes sensor data from the first unusable image and produces this. Holy smokes! And you know what the best part is? It produced this output image in less than a second. Let's have a look at some more results. These look almost too good to be true, but luckily we have a paper at our disposal, so we can have a look at some of the details of the technique. It reveals that we have to use a convolutional neural network to learn the concept of this kind of image translation, but that also means that we require some training data. The input should contain a bunch of dark images. These are the before images. This can hardly be a problem, but the output should always be the corresponding image with better visibility. These are the after images. So how do we obtain them? The key idea is to use different exposure times for the input and output images. A short exposure time means that when taking a photograph, the camera aperture is only open for a short amount of time. This means that less light is let in, therefore the photo will be darker. This is perfect for the input images, as these will be the ones to be improved. And the improved versions are going to be the images with a much longer exposure time. This is because more light is let in and we'll get brighter and clearer images. This is exactly what we are looking for. So now that we have the before and after images that we refer to as input and output, we can start training the network to learn how to perform low light photography well. And as you see here, the results are remarkable. Machine learning research at its finest. I really hope we get a software implementation of something like this in the smartphones of the near future. That would be quite amazing. And as we have only scratched the surface, please make sure to look at the paper as it contains a lot more details. Thanks for watching and for your generous support, and I'll see you next time.
Итак, расходы, да.
everybody. We're back here live. Haven't been live in a little time. And today I'd like to show you actually something kind of different. This is what I'm playing when I'm not playing classical music. I found these arrangements to lots of songs on another YouTuber's channels named Neil Archer, and he's written out arrangements to tons of songs. You can check it out. He sells the music through this website, so you can just buy it there. That's what I did. And yeah, I'm just going to play for you a couple of these songs today, just for fun, because I really like them, and I think he did a great job. So, and that's really nice, you know, when someone just writes it all out for you, you don't have to figure it out. So here we go. This is actually, I have to mention this. There's someone on this channel who recommended that to me. I can't remember. I think I was playing some piece from the RCM book 5, You and I, and someone said, "Oh, it sounds like this," and that's how I discovered his channel. So whoever that was, thank you. I went and bought the music right away. So that's it. Let me play this one. This is Have I Told You Lately? Here we go. Hi, John. Where have I been? I've been around. I've just been busy. Watching the older videos of the hippie days with the beard. I was actually going to shave today. I was like, you know what? Let me go live first and then shave. Yeah, I've been around. I've just been really busy, you know, with a few web concerts, playing the Tchaikovsky Trio. That's really a monumental, big thing, and I just needed to focus on that. Also learned a Chopin Nocturne in 2 weeks, along with other stuff for this other web concert. So yeah, I'm back, but I'm also changing a little bit the style of the program with all the the schedule we had before. Might be a little something in between right now. So okay, here we go. Have I Told You Lately? Arranged. This is a song by Van Morrison and arranged by Neil Archer. If you want the music, get it on his channel and turn it off. Here we go.
really damp and grey and miserable North Yorkshire. It's really wet and horrible here today, so I thought I would liven things up a little bit by talking about a really interesting and useful aspect of music theory, the tritone, the so-called devil's interval. Now, lots of you ask me about the tritone all the time, and I think that's because of all the legends and mystique that have grown up around it. People think that the tritone is weird and exotic and strange. And that's kind of half right, because the tritone is weird and exotic and strange, and in some ways it deserves its reputation. But in other ways, it's really common and everyday. Lots of the chord progressions that we take for granted, for example, are driven by tritones. Tritones crop up in music all the time. So what we're going to do in today's tutorial is dig into exactly what a tritone is, how tritones work, and why they are so powerful. And along the way, we're also going to touch on some other really interesting aspects of music theory. Just before we go any further, a quick mention for a couple of my books that I think you'll really like. In particular, How to Really Play the Piano, the Stuff Your Teacher Never Taught You. How to Really Play the Piano has been on the market for more than 10 years now. Thousands of people have bought it. I've had fantastic feedback about it, so I'm sure that you'll like it as well. Basically, what it does is cover the stuff your teacher never taught you. So things like chords and harmony, and getting started with improvisation and jazz and blues and pop and that kind of thing. You need to be able to read a little bit of sheet music in right and left hands, but that's about it, yeah? So if you've got that basic skill on the piano, How to Really Play the Piano will take you to the next level. I should also mention 7 Studies in Pop Piano, which I don't give enough love to really, because people who have got it really like it. Basically, if you're interested in playing like Elton John or Ben Folds or Tori Amos, piano players like that who play in that kind of pop piano or ballad piano style, then 7 Studies will really help you. It's 7 short pieces of music in pop piano style with full kind of explanation, walkthrough, suggestions for improvisation, explanations of the chords, things like that. Both of these books are available both as print editions and ebooks, and you can find out more about them by clicking the links in the description text right underneath this video, or in the little YouTube cards that pop up in the top right hand corner of the screen. I should also give a quick mention to my Patreon crowdfunder, patreon.com/BillHilton. It doesn't cost much to sign up, but there are some great benefits to be had on my Patreon, including my downloadable piano packs with video walkthroughs, which I think you'll really like. So once the video is over, do go and check out patreon.com/BillHilton. A tritone is really just a type of interval. Now, as you may know, interval is the term we use to describe the distance between any 2 notes on the piano keyboard. So, for example, if we had middle C and the E above middle C, we would say that those 2 notes were an interval of a major third apart. If we had C and the G above middle C, we would say that those 2 notes were a perfect 5th, built up the major scale. You can go down as well, but we'll stick to up for now. So 1, 2, 3, an interval of a major third. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, an interval of a perfect 5th. Now, there are some really important intervals that we need to know about. Probably the most important interval of all is the octave. Okay, the same note but just octave up on the piano keyboard. So that is the interval of an octave. By the way, when we play 2 notes of an interval together, that's not a chord. It doesn't have enough notes to be a chord. Instead, it has a special name. We call it a dyad. So that's a dyad, that's a dyad, that's a dyad. It's just 2 notes of an interval played at the same time. So an octave is a really important interval. The other 2 really important intervals are the semitone and the tone, which are the smallest intervals. If you're in the States, you'll call them half steps and whole steps, but I'll stick to semitone and tone or whole tone for today. A semitone is the interval between any note and the next note above it or below it on the keyboard. So from C to C sharp is an interval of a semitone. Likewise, C to B natural, we would say that that distance is a semitone, because those are the next door neighbour notes. A whole tone is just 2 semitones, so we would say that D is a whole tone above C. There's 1 semitone, there's another semitone, and there's a whole tone. A tritone is 3 whole tones. So if we start at C and count up 3 whole tones, C to D is 1, D to E is another, because there are 2 semitones, so that's 2 whole tones, that's a major third. But then if we add a third whole tone, 2 more semitones, we get our tritone. Now tritones are really interesting for lots of reasons. For example, the tritone is the halfway point of the octave. There's our octave between C and C. We could choose any octave, but I'll stick with this one because it's simple. And there is the F sharp, the tritone above the root. That is the exact halfway point of the octave. You might be tempted to think it was the 4th or the 5th, but it isn't. The tritone is halfway. The tritone is also interesting because it is, like the octave, its own inversion. Now most intervals, if you turn them upside down, change. So for example, if we have a major third and we turn it upside down, if we take the E and put it down here, it's not a major third anymore, it's a minor sixth. You can see that the distance between those 2 notes is bigger. Similarly, if we have a perfect fifth, okay, if we take the G and put it down here, so the interval is turned upside down, you can see that the interval has become smaller, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a perfect fourth instead. But whichever way you chop a tritone, it's still a tritone. Okay, so there is C to F sharp, our tritone. If we take the F sharp down here and count up the number of tones, there's 1 whole tone, another whole tone, and the third. So that is a tritone just as much as that is. And the only other interval that does that is the octave. Okay, that's an octave, that's an octave, that's a tritone, that's a tritone. But the tritone's most important characteristic, from our point of view as musicians, is its instability. The tritone really wants to go places. Now it's that instability that gives the tritone its power. And that's because tonal music, by which I mean the majority of songs, the majority of classical music and jazz, tonal music is driven by patterns of harmonic tension and release, of harmonic instability.
Salut à tous et bienvenue sur ma chaîne dédiée au piano et à mon blog libérersonpiano.com, des conseils, des explications et des compréhensions pour vous aider à libérer votre potentiel au piano si vous faites du piano, que vous soyez débutant ou avancé. Aujourd'hui, je voudrais vous parler des accords et des 3 étapes basiques qui vous permettront de retrouver sur votre piano n'importe quel accord à partir de son nom. Si vous faites du piano, vous avez certainement dû entendre parler du concept d'accord. Vous le retrouvez sous forme de lettres A, B, C, D, E sur des partitions de chansons, mais aussi Do majeur, Ré mineur, Fa majeur, vous avez déjà dû entendre ça. C'est des accords, plusieurs notes jouées en même temps. Donc je vais vous expliquer comment vous pouvez retrouver sur votre piano facilement n'importe quel accord de base. Je vais vous expliquer ce que j'appelle un accord de base. On va faire pour ça donc 3 étapes qui vous permettront de comprendre et d'être indépendant vis-à-vis de ça. Dans un premier temps, comprendre ce qu'est un accord et qu'est-ce que sont ces accords de base dont je parle, à quoi correspond la notation A, B, C, etc., Ré majeur, F, Fa majeur, qu'est-ce que ça veut dire. Ensuite, en deuxième, je vais vous montrer la logique mathématique qui vous permet sur le piano de retrouver et de recomposer n'importe lequel de ces accords. Et en troisième, je vais vous parler d'une technique un peu plus intuitive qui vous permettra dans un second temps de retrouver ces accords sans trop réfléchir. Mais il faudra faire ces étapes-là dans l'ordre. Donc voilà, c'est le sujet du jour. Voilà, donc on va passer tout de suite à la première étape. Ah oui, juste avant, je précise que cette vidéo fait suite à un article que j'ai écrit sur le sujet « Retrouver n'importe quel accord au piano », sur lequel je développe tous les points que je vais aborder aujourd'hui en vidéo, mais avec des bouts de partition, des illustrations visuelles et tous les points répétés en détail. Donc je vous invite à aller lire l'article si le sujet vous intéresse, ce sera peut-être plus efficace pour vous aider à comprendre cette notion. Je vous mets l'article en lien de description et on commence tout de suite. Alors, on commence donc avec la première étape pour retrouver n'importe quel accord de base au piano, c'est déjà comprendre ce qu'est un accord, tout simplement. Donc un accord, c'est tout bête, c'est au moins plus de 2 notes jouées en même temps. Donc par exemple, si je fais ça, c'est un accord, mais même si je fais, mettons ça, c'est aussi un accord, ou ça, c'est aussi un accord, ça, ou plus de notes même. Même ça, c'est un accord, même si ça sonne un petit peu bizarre, mais c'est aussi un accord. Donc, il y a plein d'accords possibles. J'en ai donné juste quelques-uns en exemple, mais en fait, il y en a vraiment beaucoup. Donc, l'idée, c'est pour que vous puissiez retrouver n'importe quel accord, c'est de parler déjà des accords de base sur lesquels ensuite vous pourrez construire beaucoup plus d'accords, varier, enrichir, complexifier ces accords. Nous, on va parler des accords de base qui s'appellent les accords parfaits. Donc, les accords parfaits sont des accords à 3 sons, ni plus ni moins. Pas n'importe quel son, pas de n'importe quelle manière, mais ils ont tous 3 sons. Et ces accords parfaits, ils peuvent être soit majeurs, soit mineurs. Voilà. Tout le reste, c'est autre chose, c'est des constructions plus ou moins complexes à partir de ces accords parfaits, majeurs ou mineurs. Mais nous, on va parler que des accords majeurs, parfaits, majeurs ou mineurs.
Так-то я второй раз сегодня только это у меня. Барды, наверное, такие. Барды, ну как. Думаешь? Маленький. Бардак, базар. Кстати, бардак это тоже, наверное, татарский слово, да? Алиса, слово бардак, этимология.
Еще ответ.
Тюркское, да. Бардачок. Ну, бардачок какой-нибудь, наверное, что-то такое. Бардак. Шкафчик, шкаф. Кто здесь? Это я. Зачем он все сказал? Зачем? Сколько лет тебе? There's no need to этой самой штучки. Нет, наоборот. У меня есть шанс научить, ладно, ты уже понял, я знал уже. Чили. Ты еще дадут тебе куда? Что за канал, я что-то не помню. А, нет, вспомнил. Ну там другая была картинка. Музыканты. Всякие партитуры укладывают. Автопортрет, что ли, это что? Я примерно так же рисую, кстати, если что, так. Настоящий. Вау, ты меня... Ногой только, да, она у тебя понял. Ну нет, зачем ты, ладно. Нет, это уже неинтересно сейчас, кто угодно может так нарисовать. А вот так вот не нарисует никто. Нет, ну сейчас наоборот. Да. Да. Нет, я забыл просто. Ну, что-то все. Ну, че-то. Кумар. Смаж. Че, ничего не блокирует, что ли? Че, вы не шутите, что ли? Или это исключение сделали? это музыкальная литература называется. Да. Ну ладно, живу.